Okay, so we're looking at the solutions to the practice test, and we'll start with 1a. So here we have m minus 3 equals 39. What's happening to m? Well, 3 is being taken away, 3 is being subtracted. So what's the opposite of that? The opposite is plus 3, so we do that on both sides. So that gets cancelled, and we have m equals 39 plus 3 is 42, and that's the solution. Let's go to the right hand side here. So this time we have two different things that are happening to n. First, it's being multiplied by 6 here, so if the 6 is next to it, that's the same as being multiplied by. And then we have the plus 4. So whenever we do algebra, we go in reverse BODMAS order. Okay, so we'll have BODMAS here, and we go in this order. So first we'll look at, is there any addition or subtraction? Well, there's the plus 4, so let's do that first. So we go minus 4 on both sides. That gets cancelled, and we're left with 6n equals minus 8 minus 4. Put that into your calculator, and you should get minus 12. Alright, so now n is still being multiplied by the 6. So how do we get rid of that? Well, we divide by 6 on both sides, because that's the opposite of multiplied by 6. So that gets cancelled, and we have n equals, and minus 12 divided by 6, well, a negative and a positive number should give us a negative number. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So we should get n equals minus 2. And that's our answer. Alright, if we keep moving now. So let's look at 1b. So this time we have a y on both sides of the equation and a number on both sides of the equation. So let's underline all the terms that have a letter in them, and let's overline, like that, all the ones that just have a number. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of all the numbers on the left hand side, just the numbers. So that doesn't include 3y, it's just the ones that don't have a letter, so the overlined ones. So the opposite of minus 7 is plus 7. So we do that on both sides where the overline is. Okay, that gets cancelled because minus 7 plus 7 just equals 0. So we have 3y equals, well, 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus y. Now, we've still got a y here and a y here, so we underline them and we overline the number. So now we want to get rid of any letters on the right hand side. So we have a plus y on the right hand side. What's the opposite of plus y? Well, it's minus y. So we do minus y on both sides. So it cancels over here, and we have 3y minus y. Well, 3 of something minus 1 of something should give us 2 of something, so we should get 2y equals, that just got cancelled, so we're just left with 14. And now we have all the letters on the left hand side and all the numbers, just the numbers, on the right hand side. So if you like, we can underline and overline again. And so finally, we have 2 times y equals 14. Well, what's the opposite of times 2? Divided by 2. So we do that on both sides. That gets cancelled, and we're left with y equals 14 divided by 2 is 7, and that's our answer. Okay, moving on to the right hand side, there's a very similar problem here. So again, let's underline all our letters, and let's overline the ones that just have numbers. Okay, and make sure you overline the sign as well, so you overline the negative here. Again, the first thing we need to do is get rid of all the numbers, just the overlined ones, on the left hand side. So we do plus 11 on that side and plus 11 on this side. That gets cancelled as before. So again, we just drop down the 16z, drop down the equal sign, equals. 20z is not affected because that's the one with the letter in it, so nothing happens to that with a plus 11. And then we have minus 3 plus 11. Again, put that into your calculator and you should get plus 8. So now we have 16z equals 20z plus 8. Again, we underline the ones that have a letter and overline the ones that just have a number. So now we want to get rid of all the terms on the right hand side that have a letter. So we want to get rid of this 20z. Well, 20z is the same as plus 20z. So the opposite of that is minus 20z, and we do that on both sides. Just like that. Okay, so that gets cancelled again. 16z minus 20z. Well, 16 minus 20 is negative 4. So we should get negative 4z equals plus 8. And now we have all the terms with the letters on one side, and all the terms just with the numbers on the other side. So finally, we have negative 4 times z equals plus 8. So if we have a times here, we want to do the opposite. We want to divide. So we divide by negative 4 on both sides. So that gets cancelled, and we're left with z equals, well, A positive and a negative should give us a negative. And 8 divided by negative 4 is 2. So z equals negative 2 is our answer. Let's keep going. Okay, so here we're going to have to do some expansion in question C. So we're going to have to multiply this times that and this times this. So these are both multiplied, okay? So 4 times 3f, well, 4 times 3 is 12, and the f just stays. 4 times 5 is 20, and there's a plus sign there, and this is also positive. So positive and a positive make a positive. So that should be plus 4 times 5 is 20 equals negative 4. Now, just as in the second question we did, we have f being multiplied by 12, and then 20 being added. And so we go in reverse BODMAS order. So first we'll look for any addition or subtraction, and we have addition over here. So we do that first. So we do minus 20 to get rid of the plus 20 on both sides. So that gets cancelled. And we're left with 12f equals minus 4 minus 20 is minus 24. Again, just do it in a calculator if you're not sure. Finally, we still have this 12 times f equals negative 24. So we want to get rid of this times 12. What's the opposite of times 12? Well, it's divided by 12 on both sides. So that gets cancelled. And we have f equals a negative and a positive will give us a negative. And 24 divided by 12 should give us 2. So f equals negative 2. Again, if you're not sure about this, just put it into your calculator. Let's look at this question here. So first of all, let's rewrite this, because negative 3 minus d is actually the same as negative 1 times 3 minus d, and it equals 4 2d plus 8. Okay, hopefully that you can make sense of that d. So we want to do the same thing as before. We want to multiply that and that, and that and that, and we want to multiply this and this, and this and this. So anytime there's a number in front of a bracket, that's what we do. So negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 times negative d, well, we have a negative and a negative, that makes a positive. And 1 times d, well, 1 times anything is whatever you're multiplying the 1 by, so we should get d. Drop the equal sign down. Then we have 4 times 2d. Again, hopefully you can make sense that that's a d. So 4 times 2d, well, 4 times 2 is 8, so we get 8, the d stays, so 8d. Then 4 times 8, a positive and a positive make a positive, so we have a positive. 4 times 8 is 32. Alright, so now it looks like one of the questions from before. We have a letter term here, and a letter term here, a number term here, and a number term here. So again, we want to do the same thing. We want to get rid of all just the number terms on the left-hand side, and get rid of all just the letter terms, on the right-hand side. So first, let's get rid of the numbers on the left-hand side. So we do plus 3 to get rid of minus 3 on both sides. That gets cancelled. So we're left with d, it's the same thing as plus d, equals 8d, 32 plus 3 is 35, plus 35. Okay, well we still have this and this on two sides, and we have this on the right-hand side here. So we want to get this 8d over to the left-hand side. So we're going to get rid of it from the right-hand side. So we take 8d, which is just the opposite of plus 8d, so the opposite from both sides. That gets cancelled, and we're left with d minus 8d, which is minus 7d, equals 35. And now all the letter terms are on the left-hand side, and all the number terms on the right-hand side. So that's what we want. So finally we have negative 7 times d equals 35. So negative 7 times d, so what's the opposite of times negative 7? Well, we divide by negative 7 on both sides. Hopefully it's clear. That gets cancelled, so we're left with d equals positive number divided by negative number should give us a negative, and 35 divided by 7 is 5. So d equals negative 5 is our answer. Alright, last two now. Now the last two are pretty difficult, so don't worry too much if you can't get them, but I'll go through them anyway. So, with this question, we always try to do what we can. So the first thing we should see here is that if we have a fraction like this, that's the same as having a bracket around the top. And if we have a bracket around the top, and we go in reverse BODMAS order, so again, let me write BODMAS here. Now the b is the bracket, so we do that very last. So first, we want to do any addition or subtraction that's outside the bracket. Now there's no addition or subtraction outside the bracket. There is, however, division. Okay, there's that divided by 4. So first, let's do times 4 on both sides to get rid of that divided by 4. So that these will cancel out. So we'll be left with v plus 1 equals, and 4 times v is 4v. Alright, so now as before, we have letters on that side and this side, and we have a number on the left-hand side. So we want to get rid of the numbers from the left-hand side and the letters from the right-hand side, just as before. So first we get rid of the numbers. So we do minus 1 on both sides. Well, that gets cancelled, and we're left with v equals 4v. Now, this is a letter term, and this is a number term, so we can't do anything with them. We just rewrite them like this, 4v minus 1. Okay, so now our number terms are on the right-hand side, just like we want. But this letter term's still on the right-hand side as well, so we want to get rid of it. So we do minus 4v on both sides, because that's the opposite of 4v here, right? 4v is the same as plus 4v. So this gets cancelled. And v minus 4v is negative 3v, which equals, and we're left with this negative 1, negative 1. So negative 3v equals negative 1, so this v is getting multiplied by negative 3. So we do the opposite, we divide by negative 3 on both sides. That gets cancelled. So v equals, a negative and a negative will make a positive, and 1 divided by 3 is just a third. Or if you put it into a calculator, you could also write this as 0.33. Last question. Alright, so now you should make sure that you know that if there's a number by itself like this, that's the same as a plus. So it's plus 3 minus 3 on 7 equals 9. Alright, let's do this question. So again, we go in reverse BODMAS if we can. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of any addition or subtraction. And this 3 is the same as plus 3, so that's addition. So to get rid of it, we do minus 3 off both sides. Hopefully you can read that. So this gets cancelled, and you get negative 3u on 7 equals 9 minus 3, 6. So that's a 6. Okay, so then we want to get rid of any division or multiplication, because there's no more addition or subtraction here. Let's get rid of this divided by 7 first. So we times 7 on both sides. That goes and that goes. And we're left with negative 3u equals 6 times 7 is 42. And finally, this u is getting multiplied by negative 3. So to undo that, we divide by negative 3. So to do the opposite of times, you divide by the same number. So divide by negative 3. That goes. So we have u equals, and 42 divided by negative 3 is negative 14. And that's the end of question 1.